Howdy, gang. Welcome back. Here we are, lecture number 2 on chapter 10. We talked about cadences before, and now we're going to look at the phrases themselves and how the phrases are organized into structures themselves. First, they talk about a motive. A motive would be considered the smallest, as they say here, the smallest identifiable musical idea. Da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Matter of fact, that's what they give you right there. That's the motive from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, descending third from the fifth to the third of a C minor triad. Here's the rhythmic motive, and here's the motive together. Beethoven was the king of composing with motives and developing ideas from basic, simple motives. Like the Fifth Symphony is a perfect example. Listen to that puppy. All right. A phrase is a relatively independent musical idea terminated by a cadence. A subphrase is a distinct portion of a phrase, but it is not a phrase because it's not terminated by a cadence. So they give examples here and we're just going to move on. You can read all of that. We are interested in phrases. In this one here, they've marked 2 perfect authentic cadences, but it's really the second one that concludes the phrase because it's kind of a little tag. It's like if I say this sentence right here, right here. You hear how I put that little tag on the end? That's what's happening here. So truly the phrase ends here in the actual conclusion of the musical idea. Now, we are introducing a new concept here. See that little A right there? Little B right here? Little C right here? And then notice the A prime right here. Those indicators, those lowercase letters, indicate melodic information. Because this is A, B, and C, that means that who's ever analyzing this is coming to the conclusion for themselves that these are 3 different melodies. We focus, when we are choosing A's and B's and C's, we focus on the beginning of the melody, and we really are interested in, is the composer trying to reference the sound of this melody when the second melody is presented or when the third melody is presented? Or is there an intent on the part of the composer to contrast? That's a very important thing, and we'll come back to that. Here comes my kitty. Hi, Pazu. Yeah, there's a cat. Pazu, are you intending to reference the melody or contrast it? Oh, now he doesn't have anything to say. Okay, so when it comes to this one, this A prime, it's marked A prime because we consider this melody, this 4th phrase here, to have enough similarity in terms of its contour and rhythm, but in particular the melodic contour and the notes that are used. There's enough familiarity here, referencing back to the first melody, the first phrase, that we're going to consider it a modification of A and call it A prime. Oftentimes, there will be a different cadence. In this case, there wasn't. In this case, they both end with perfect authentic cadence. Okay, let's listen to this.
Example 10-10.
Little tag. Repeat. Again, this is melody B. Going on. Half cadence. repeat. All right, so these phrases, the first one ended with a perfect authentic cadence, second one ended with a perfect authentic cadence, third one ended with a half cadence, and then the last phrase ended with a perfect authentic cadence. The last note of one phrase sometimes serves as the first note of the next one, a process referred to as elision. So you can go bum ba ba da da bum ba da 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 ba da 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 da. I'm ending a phrase with one note, but I'm using that note to begin the next phrase. Okay, 10-3, we got to get to the next page. Okay, so yeah, we're not going back to 10-3. You can do that on your own time if you like. We're going to move on here. All the concepts we've presented so far in this chapter are well illustrated in this next example, Mozart. Deceptively Simple Song was composed by Mozart when he was 11. Way to go, kid. The singer doubles the right hand of the piano part throughout, and a nice effect is obtained in performance of the left hand, which is doubled by cello or bassoon. Let's check it out.
Example 10-11.
You hear how conclusive that sounded? Here comes a half cadence. Ba-da-dum-bum. Deceptive. Perfect authentic cadence. Very nice, Wolfie. Okay, they go through, and it's a good idea for you to have a look at this. I want to keep moving. But they go through and they mark out when the phrases end, at what measure, number, and what type of phrase, what type of cadence you find, and what key these things are in. All right, period forms. So the majority of what you're going to do in this chapter is create these period form graphs or charts. And I'll skip down to, this is what a lot of your final products are going to look like. This bracket shows a phrase, and we mark the end of the phrase with the type of cadence that we find there. Here's another bracket showing the cadence here and showing the phrase. Now also at the top of the bracket, they are showing that the melodic information from the first phrase to the second is similar enough. And again, I like the idea that in the second phrase, the composer is intending for you to reference that sound of the first phrase. That's similar enough that we're going to label it as A prime and not as B. So let's look at what that means. Here's the melody. And I'm just looking at the melody here. Now look at the second phrase. It looks very similar. Yeah, there is a little change. You know, the text is different, so the rhythm might change a little bit. But the basic contour, as you see from here to here, is pretty much identical. There will be a change of cadence. Very frequently, the cadence will be different. And so again, it's the first part of the melody that we look to when we're making that decision about whether it's A prime, as this one is, or A B is the second phrase contrasting. And now we can get to these terms. If they are the same the way this one is, then we call it a parallel period. A period is a presentation of two or often more phrases that are in an antecedent consequent relationship. What that means is antecedent consequent means like question answer. It means the first phrase ends with something less conclusive, like a half cadence in this case, and the second phrase is more conclusive, a perfect authentic cadence. This is a classic cadential relationship in an antecedent consequent period. So this parallel period has the antecedent consequent, but the reason it's parallel, it's a period because it has antecedent consequent, but it's parallel because the two phrases have the same melodic information. If the second phrase, let's find one. Oh, they're not going to give us the diagram. They're going to talk about it though. If the second phrase was different, then it would be, melodically, it would be a contrasting period. So it's a period because the cadences have an antecedent consequent relationship, but it's parallel because the melodies are similar. So let's listen to this, and we'll listen to not only the less conclusive half cadence, the more conclusive perfect authentic cadence, but we'll also hear the parallel relationship between the melody of the first cadence and the melody of the second cadence. They have the same stuff in them, and so we call it parallel.
Example 10, 12.
There's the half cadence. There's soul in the half cadence. Nice. Nice perfect authentic cadence too. Why is it perfect? Root position 5, root position 1, do in the soprano. You can't be more conclusive than that in a cadence. So that was the example of a parallel period. Two phrases, half cadence in the first phrase, perfect authentic cadence in the second phrase, and similar melodic information, giving it A and A prime. This one is also considered parallel, even though they aren't exactly the same notes, but it is the same contour. This is a jazz standard, a Gershwin tune from Porgy and Bess. So when you listen to, we're going to listen to it, listen for the pickups into the second phrase, and you hear the same ascending thirds, arpeggio type sound, but instead of starting on F here, it starts on D here. We still consider it a parallel period. And again, the question we ask, does the composer intend to reference the sound of the previous phrase? And the answer is yes here.
Example 10, 13.
I loves you, Porgy. Don't let him take me. Don't let him handle me and drive me mad. If you can keep me, I want to stay here with you forever, and I'll be glad.
nice. Another example of a parallel period. All right, here we have an example of a contrasting period. Look at the melody of the first phrase. This is ascending sixth, descending, continues up. Compare that to the melody of the second phrase, ascending eighth notes this way, then a huge leap, and then different figure coming out. So let's listen to this. And again, this is contrasting because the melodic information is different. The diagram, and I don't know why they didn't give us one for this, I wish they had, will look the same as far as half cadence at the end of the first phrase, perfect authentic cadence in the second phrase, but the little lowercase letters above will be A on this and B on this.
Example 10:14.
Very nice. Sweet. I think we should break here. We'll check back in with three-phase period. Do one more video to wrap up the chapter.